Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Luna Base, her eyes fixed on the massive construction yards that stretched across the lunar surface. The skeletal frames of warships under construction cast long shadows in the harsh sunlight, each vessel a testament to humanity's determination to survive. The Aegis fleet, humanity's greatest engineering achievement, was taking shape before her eyes. 3 months ago, the Deep Space Monitoring Station on Armada had detected the approaching Kraxan Armada. The alien empire had already conquered 17 star systems, their path of expansion leading directly to Earth. Their message was simple: surrender or face extinction. Humanity's response was equally straightforward: they would fight. "Admiral, the latest progress report," Captain Miguel Torres said, handing her a datapad. Sarah studied the numbers, her expression remaining neutral despite the gravity of the situation. The construction of the first wave of ships was ahead of schedule, but time remained their greatest enemy. The Aegis fleet represented a radical departure from traditional space warfare doctrine. Instead of matching the Kraxans ship for ship, humanity had developed vessels that leveraged their unique strengths. The ships incorporated experimental quantum shielding, adaptable AI tactical systems, and revolutionary gravity manipulation technology that the aliens had never encountered. "How are the crew trials progressing?" Sarah asked, turning to face her executive officer. "Better than expected. The neural interface systems are allowing pilots to react 3 times faster than conventional controls. The simulation results are promising. We're achieving victory rates of 60% against projected Kraxan tactics." Sarah nodded, remembering the heated debates in the United Earth Defense Council. Some had advocated for evacuation, others for surrender. But humanity had chosen a different path. They would stand and fight, not just for Earth, but for all the species that might fall to the Kraxan Empire in the future. A sudden commotion drew their attention. On the construction platform below, workers were installing the main weapon system on the flagship, the UES Prometheus. The massive quantum lance cannon, powered by an artificial singularity, represented the pinnacle of human weapons technology. It was untested in actual combat, but simulations suggested it could penetrate even the strongest Kraxan shields. "The Prometheus will be ready for space trials next week," Torres reported. "Engineering teams have resolved the power distribution issues. We're also implementing the improvements suggested by the AI tactical analysis." Sarah watched as automated construction drones swarmed around the ship like metallic insects, welding armor plates and installing sensor arrays. The Prometheus was beautiful in a deadly way, its sleek lines belying the immense firepower it carried. Unlike the blocky, brutalist designs of Kraxan vessels, human ships emphasized maneuverability and adaptability. "What's the status of the quantum network?" Sarah asked, referring to the revolutionary communication system that would link the fleet's ships. "Final testing phase. Once operational, it will allow instantaneous coordination across the entire fleet, regardless of distance. The Kraxans won't be able to disrupt our communications." The Admiral's comm unit chimed with an urgent message. The long-range sensors had detected increased activity in the Kraxan fleet. They were accelerating their advance. "Move us to alert level 2, Sarah ordered. "I want all completed ships running combat drills around the clock. We need to be ready when they arrive." As she issued orders, Sarah thought about the message they had intercepted from a Kraxan command ship. The aliens considered humanity primitive, barely worth the effort of conquest. They would soon learn their mistake. Humans had spent their entire history preparing for this moment, though they hadn't known it. Every war, every technological breakthrough, every triumph over adversity had helped forge them into warriors worthy of defending their home. In the shipyards below, the Aegis fleet continued to grow. Each vessel represented the culmination of human ingenuity and determination. The quantum drives that would propel them through space, the adaptive shield systems that would protect them, the advanced weapons that would strike fear into the enemy. All were products of humanity's greatest minds working together with a single purpose: The civilian evacuation of the outer colonies is proceeding on schedule, Torres reported. But most colonists are choosing to stay and fight. They believe in the fleet, Admiral. Sarah nodded, pride swelling in her chest. Humanity wasn't running. They were standing their ground, preparing to protect not just Earth, but all of human space. The Kraxans thought they were dealing with just another primitive species to be conquered. Instead, they would face an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. An enemy that had spent millennia dreaming of the stars while building the strength to reach them. As the sun set behind the Earth, casting long shadows across the lunar surface, Sarah Chen made a silent promise. The Aegis fleet would not just defend humanity. It would become a symbol of hope for all species who faced extinction at the hands of the Kraxan Empire. The age of human submission to alien aggression was over. The time had come for humanity to show the galaxy why they had survived every challenge their harsh world had thrown at them. The stars awaited, and humanity was ready for war. The Kraxan fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, their massive warships casting shadows across the stars. Admiral Chen watched from the bridge of the UES Prometheus as the tactical display filled with enemy signatures. The moment humanity had prepared for had arrived. Detecting 117 Kraxan vessels, Lieutenant Emma Santos reported from her sensor station. Their energy signatures match our intelligence data. They're charging weapons. Sarah stood at the command podium, her posture calm despite the gravity of the situation. Around her, the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, the neural interfaces allowing them to process tactical data at unprecedented speeds. The quantum network hummed silently, connecting every ship in the Aegis fleet. All ships, battle formation Delta, Sarah commanded. The order flowed through the network, and 43 human vessels moved in perfect synchronization. The Prometheus led the formation, its quantum lance cannon already drawing power from its artificial singularity core. The Kraxan commander's transmission came as expected, their translator converting the alien language into English. Primitive species, you have been chosen for integration into the Kraxan Empire. Surrender your worlds and submit to our authority. Resistance will result in your extinction. Sarah's response was simple. Aegis fleet, weapons free. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations. The Kraxan ships advanced in traditional attack formations, expecting an easy victory over what they considered inferior technology. Instead, they encountered something entirely new. Human vessels seemed to dance between their energy beams, the quantum shields absorbing impacts that should have vaporized them. The AI tactical systems predicted Kraxan maneuvers seconds before they occurred, allowing the Aegis fleet to strike at vulnerable points in their formation. Multiple Kraxan cruisers breaking formation, Torres reported. They're trying to adjust to our attack pattern, but the tactical AI is staying ahead of them. The Prometheus dove through a gap in the Kraxan line, its quantum lance cannon firing for the first time in actual combat. The beam of concentrated quantum energy pierced straight through a Kraxan battleship's shields, cutting the massive vessel in half. Secondary explosions rippled through the alien fleet as human ships struck with surgical precision. But the Kraxans weren't a spacefaring empire for nothing. They adapted quickly, their ships forming new defensive patterns. Energy beams crisscrossed space, catching several human vessels. The UES Hyperion disappeared in a ball of plasma, its crew fighting to the last second. They're targeting our communication relays, Santos warned, trying to disrupt the quantum network. Let them try, Sarah replied. The network was humanity's ace in the hole. Unlike conventional communications, it operated through quantum entanglement. There was nothing to disrupt, no signals to intercept. The battle raged for hours. Human ingenuity and technology clashed with Kraxan numbers and experience. The space around Proxima Centauri became a graveyard of broken ships and shattered dreams. But slowly, inevitably, the tide began to turn. Kraxan fleet is losing coherence, Torres announced. Their formation is breaking apart. They've never encountered anything like our attack patterns. Sarah watched as the Kraxan ships began to retreat, their losses mounting. The aliens had expected an easy conquest of another primitive species. Instead, they had encountered an enemy that had spent centuries preparing for this moment, even if they hadn't known it. "All ships, execute Maneuver Omega," Sarah ordered. The Aegis fleet moved as one, encircling the retreating Kraxan vessels. The quantum lance cannons fired in sequence, their beams cutting through space like the swords of angry gods. When it was over, less than a third of the Kraxan fleet managed to escape back into hyperspace. The rest drifted in pieces around Proxima Centauri, a testament to humanity's determination to survive. "Damage report," Sarah demanded, though her ships had already transmitted their status through the network. "We lost 12 ships," Torres replied solemnly, "but the Kraxans lost over 70. They'll think twice before attacking human space again." But Sarah knew better. This wasn't the end. It was barely the beginning. The Kraxans would return with a larger fleet, with new tactics, with a better understanding of human capabilities. But that was exactly what she had planned for. "Send word to Earth," she ordered. "The Aegis fleet's first engagement was a success, but tell them to accelerate production. The Kraxans will be back, and next time, they'll be ready for us." As the fleet regrouped and began search and rescue operations, Sarah studied the tactical data from the battle. The Kraxans were powerful, but they were also predictable. They relied too heavily on brute force, on overwhelming their enemies with superior numbers and firepower. They hadn't faced an enemy that could think faster, move quicker, and adapt more rapidly than they could. That would be their downfall. Because humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, they were fighting to prove that intelligence, creativity, and the will to survive could overcome even the most powerful empire. The Aegis fleet had won its first battle, but the war for humanity's future was just beginning. In the dark space beyond the Rigel system, the expanded Aegis fleet waited. 2 months had passed since the victory at Proxima Centauri, and humanity had not been idle. The fleet had grown to 70 ships, each incorporating lessons learned from the first battle. But more importantly, they had made an unexpected discovery. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, examining the holographic display of a Kraxan data core recovered from the wreckage. The alien text scrolled past, translated by AI systems that had been working around the clock to crack their language. "Show me the settlement patterns again," she ordered. The display shifted, revealing a map of Kraxan-controlled space. But it wasn't the enemy positions that interested her. It was the locations of their subject species. "The Kraxans have conquered 17 spacefaring civilizations," Captain Torres explained, highlighting various systems. "But they don't integrate them. They subjugate them, force them to produce resources and technology. And not all of these species are happy about it." Sarah nodded. "And that's our opportunity. The Meridians in particular. Their ships were known for their stealth technology before the Kraxans conquered them. If we could free them." The plan was audacious. Instead of waiting for the next Kraxan attack, the Aegis fleet would strike deep into enemy territory. Not to conquer, but to liberate. To turn the Kraxan Empire's subjected species into allies. "Fleet status," Sarah asked, turning to Lieutenant Santos. "All ships report ready, Admiral. The new quantum network upgrades are online, and the stealth systems are functioning at optimal levels. The Kraxans won't see us coming." The fleet moved out, using a series of short FTL jumps to avoid detection. The quantum drives, humanity's greatest technological achievement, allowed them to slip through space like ghosts. No radiation signature, no subspace distortion, nothing for the Kraxan early warning systems to detect. Their target was Meridia, the homeworld of a species that had once rivaled the Kraxans in technological advancement. Now it was just another conquered world, its orbital shipyards producing vessels for their oppressors. Multiple Kraxan signatures in orbit, Santos reported as they approached the system. 4 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers. Standard occupation fleet. Sarah smiled. The Kraxans were creatures of habit, following the same patterns that had worked for centuries. But those patterns made them predictable. Launch Operation Shadowbreak. The Aegis fleet split into 3 groups, executing a maneuver that would have been impossible without the quantum network's coordination. The first group, led by the Prometheus, emerged from FTL directly behind Meridia's moon, using its mass to mask their signatures. The second group appeared at the system's edge, drawing Kraxan attention. The third group waited in reserve, ready to strike from any angle. Kraxan fleet is responding to Group 2's appearance, Torres reported. They're moving to intercept, exactly as predicted. The battle unfolded like a deadly dance. The Kraxan ships moved to engage what they thought was the main human fleet, leaving their orbital positions. That was when Group 1 struck. Quantum lance beams lanced out from behind Meridia's moon, catching 3 Kraxan destroyers before they could raise shields. The Prometheus led the charge, its advanced targeting systems allowing it to fire with precision, even as it accelerated to combat speed. Transmit the message to the Meridian resistance, Sarah ordered. Across the planet below, encrypted quantum signals reached hidden receivers. Years of Kraxan occupation hadn't broken the Meridian spirit. They had just been waiting for an opportunity. Meridian defense systems are activating, Santos announced excitedly. They're targeting Kraxan ships. The resistance is taking control of the orbital platforms. The Kraxans found themselves caught in a trap. Human ships struck from multiple angles while Meridian defense platforms, fought long dormant, opened fire on their former masters. In orbit, automated shipyards suddenly stopped producing Kraxan vessels and began powering up dormant Meridian warships. Kraxan command ship is attempting to transmit a distress signal, Torres reported. Let them, Sarah replied. I want the entire Empire to know what happened here. The battle for Meridia lasted less than an hour. When it was over, the Kraxan occupation fleet was destroyed, and humanity had gained powerful allies. Meridian ships, sleek and dark against the stars, moved to join formation with the Aegis fleet. Message from the Meridian High Council, Santos said. They're pledging their full support to the resistance against the Kraxans, and they're not the only ones. Similar messages are coming in from 3 other subjected species in nearby systems. Sarah nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. This was more than a military victory. It was a fundamental shift in the balance of power. The Kraxans had built their empire on fear and subjugation. They had never considered that their conquered peoples might rise against them. Send word to Earth, she ordered. Phase 1 of Operation Shadowbreak is complete. The real war begins now. As she watched Meridian ships take up formation alongside human vessels, Sarah reflected on how far they had come. Humanity had entered this conflict fighting for survival. Now they were fighting for something larger. The freedom of all species who had suffered under Kraxan rule. The Kraxans thought size and strength were everything, she mused. They never understood that the strongest chains are the ones forged by cooperation and mutual respect. The combined fleet prepared to move out. Their next target was already selected. Another Kraxan-controlled system, another species waiting to be freed. The Empire had spent centuries building its power through conquest and subjugation. Now it would learn the price of making enemies of every species it encountered. The war was entering a new phase, and humanity was leading the charge, not as conquerors, but as liberators. And that, Sarah knew, would make all the difference. The captured Kraxan research facility on Meridia's third moon held secrets that made Admiral Chen's blood run cold. She stood in the facility's central data core, surrounded by holographic displays showing weapons schematics that defied comprehension. Beside her, Meridian Chief Scientist Vextel's crystalline face reflected the harsh light of the displays. They call it the Void Cascade, Vextel explained, his translator converting his harmonic speech into English, a weapon that tears apart the fabric of space-time itself. They were building it here, using our scientists, forcing them to help perfect it. Sarah studied the technical data, her neural interface struggling to process the complexity of what she was seeing. This isn't just a weapon, it's an extinction device. The Void Cascade was designed to create an expanding rift in spacetime, one that would consume entire star systems. Once triggered, it couldn't be stopped. The Kraxans had planned to use it as their ultimate deterrent against rebellion. "Commander Torres, get me a secure link to Earth Command immediately," Sarah ordered. "And contact the Prometheus. I want our best quantum physicists looking at this data." The discovery changed everything. The liberation campaign had been successful beyond their wildest hopes, with 6 species now fighting alongside humanity against their former oppressors. But if the Kraxans deployed the Void Cascade, none of that would matter. How close were they to completing it? Sarah asked Vextal. The Meridian scientists' crystalline structure darkened, a sign of deep concern. "Too close. They have a prototype facility in the Deneb sector. Our intelligence suggests they're within weeks of the first test." Back aboard the Prometheus, Sarah convened an emergency council with representatives from all allied species. The quantum network allowed them to meet virtually, their holograms gathered around the tactical table. "The Kraxans have always been brutal," Kilin, the insectoid leader of the Arxer resistance, clicked through their translator. "But this weapon goes beyond conquest. It's genocide on an unprecedented scale. We need to strike now," General Harker from Earth Command argued, "before they can complete the weapon." But Sarah saw a different possibility. "No," she said, studying the technical data. "We need to do more than stop them. We need to make sure no one can ever build this weapon again." Her plan was ambitious, using combined human and Meridian stealth technology. A small fleet would penetrate deep into Kraxan space. Their target wasn't just the Void Cascade facility. It was the Kraxan Central Research Database that contained all knowledge of how to build it. "It's not enough to destroy the prototype," she explained. "We need to erase the very concept from existence." The mission was designated Operation Silent Storm. The Prometheus would lead a task force of 15 ships, a mix of human, Meridian, and Arxer vessels, each chosen for their specific capabilities. They would have one chance to get it right. "The Kraxans expect us to attack their military targets," Sarah briefed her crew. "They've reinforced their shipyards, their fleet bases, their resource production facilities. But this research center, they think it's their best-kept secret." The task force moved out under complete stealth, using a series of revolutionary hybrid drives that combined human quantum technology with Meridian phase shifting. They were literally ghosts in space, invisible to every known form of detection. 3 days into Kraxan space, they encountered their first major obstacle. A massive sensor net designed to detect even the slightest spatial disturbance. "Conventional stealth won't get us through," Torres reported. "Even with Meridian tech, they'll detect our mass displacement." That's when Kilin's Arxer scientists revealed their contribution. "Our species evolved in the deep gravity wells of gas giants," the insectoid explained. "We learned to manipulate gravitational fields on a quantum level. We can create a bubble of null space around the fleet." The combined technologies worked perfectly. The task force slipped through the sensor net like water through a sieve. But as they approached the Deneb sector, they discovered something unexpected. Multiple Kraxan ships around the facility, Santos reported. "Far more than intelligence suggested. They're evacuating." Sarah's blood ran cold. "They're not evacuating. They're preparing for a test." She studied the sensor data, her mind racing. How long until they can activate the prototype? "Energy readings are spiking," Vextal reported. "Hours, at most." Sarah made her decision. "All ships, battle formation. We're going in hot." The Kraxans would rather destroy half their empire than let us stop them, but that's not going to happen. Not today. The task force decloaked simultaneously, quantum lance cannons firing before the Kraxans could even register their presence. The Prometheus led the charge, its advanced shields absorbing the panicked return fire. "Get our boarding teams to that facility," Sarah ordered. The prototype has to be destroyed from inside. Nothing can remain. What followed was chaos. Human Marines fought alongside Meridian phase shifters and Arxer gravity manipulators, pushing through Kraxan defenses with desperate determination. In space, the battle raged as Kraxan reinforcements arrived, only to face weapons and tactics they had never encountered before. Time was running out. The Void Cascade prototype was powering up, its energy signature growing exponentially. But the combined forces had one final card to play, a weapon that merged technologies from all three species. Quantum nullification field ready, Torres reported. But we've never tested it at this scale. Sarah looked at her allies' faces on the tactical display. They nodded as one. Sometimes, she said, you have to take a leap of faith. The device activated, sending out waves of quantum energy that unraveled the very principles the Void Cascade was based on. The prototype collapsed in on itself, its power source imploding harmlessly. In the aftermath, as Allied ships secured the facility and purged its databases, Sarah realized they had achieved more than just stopping a superweapon. They had proven that different species, working together, could achieve things that none of them could do alone. The Kraxans built their empire on the idea that strength comes from dominance, she told her crew. Today, we proved them wrong. True strength comes from unity. The combined fleet assembled at the edge of Kraxan space was the largest gathering of free species in galactic history. Over 300 ships representing 8 different civilizations, all united under a single cause. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from the Prometheus's bridge as the last battle group jumped in. The newly liberated Centauri ships, their bioorganic hulls gleaming with internal light. All fleets report ready, Captain Torres announced. The quantum network is linking all ships successfully. We're achieving perfect synchronization across all species systems. This was it, the final push into the heart of the Kraxan Empire. Intelligence gathered from liberated worlds had revealed the Empire's fatal flaw. Their rigid hierarchy extended to their entire civilization. Take out their central command, and the whole Empire would crumble. Send the final transmission to all ships, Sarah ordered. The message was brief but powerful. Today, we fight not just for our own freedom, but for every species that has ever faced extinction at the hands of those who mistake dominance for strength. The Kraxans believe they are invincible. Today, we prove them wrong. The fleet moved out in perfect formation, each species' unique technologies working in harmony. Human quantum drives merged with Meridian phase tech, and Arxer gravity manipulation created an entirely new form of faster-than-light travel. They weren't just faster than the Kraxans, they were invisible to them. But the Empire wasn't defenseless. As they approached the Kraxan home system, they encountered the full might of the Imperial fleet. Over 500 warships arranged in their traditional battle formation, a wall of firepower that had crushed countless civilizations. They're transmitting, Santos reported. On the main screen, a Kraxan High Commander appeared. Their species' angular, crystalline features were twisted in what might have been amusement. So, the lesser races come to die together, the commander sneered. Your alliance is an aberration. The strong rule, the weak serve. This is the natural order. Sarah's response was calm. You never understood. True strength isn't about domination. It's about adaptation, cooperation, and the will to stand up against tyranny. Fire all weapons. The battle that followed would be remembered for millennia. The Allied fleet moved like a living thing, each ship complementing the other's strengths and covering their weaknesses. Human quantum lance cannons opened gaps in Kraxan formations that Meridian phase ships slipped through. Arxer gravity weapons created zones of distorted space that Centauri bioships used to launch devastating surprise attacks. But the Kraxans fought with the desperation of an empire facing extinction. Their weapons tore through space, destroying dozens of Allied ships. The Prometheus shuddered as a barrage of energy beams struck its quantum shields. Shields at 40%. Torres called out. We're taking heavy fire. Sarah watched the tactical display, waiting for the right moment. The Kraxans were so focused on their frontline defense that they didn't notice the small task force of stealth ships slipping past their lines. A joint team of human, Meridian, and Arxer special forces. Their mission was the key to victory. Task Force reports successful infiltration, Santos announced. They're inside the Kraxan Central Command Complex. That was the signal Sarah had been waiting for. All ships, execute maneuver Omega Prime. The Allied fleet suddenly shifted formation, forming a massive sphere around the Kraxan forces. Each ship's weapon systems linked through the quantum network, combining their power in ways that defied conventional physics. The Prometheus led the charge, its quantum lance cannon drawing power from every ship in the fleet. The Kraxans are attempting to regroup, Torres reported. Their formation is breaking. Inside the Kraxan command complex, the Special Forces team fought their way to the central control room. They carried a device that combined all their species' technologies, a quantum virus that would spread through the Kraxans' rigid command structure, shutting down their ability to coordinate their forces. Task Force reports success, Santos called out. The virus is uploading. The effect was immediate and devastating. Kraxan ships began losing power, their weapons going dark. The rigid hierarchy that had been their strength became their greatest weakness. Without central control, their fleet fell into chaos. Multiple Kraxan vessels are powering down, Torres reported. Others are attempting to flee. Their entire command structure is collapsing. Sarah opened a channel to all ships. This is Admiral Chen. All ships target the Kraxan flagship. End this. The combined firepower of the Allied fleet struck the massive Kraxan command ship like the fist of an angry god. Its shields shattered, its hull cracked, and the vessel that had symbolized Kraxan dominance for centuries exploded in a burst of quantum fire. In the hours that followed, the Kraxan Empire surrendered. Without their central command, without their rigid hierarchy, they could no longer maintain control over their vast territory. One by one, subjugated worlds declared their independence. Standing on the Prometheus's observation deck, Sarah watched as representatives from all the Allied species gathered for the signing of the Galactic Concordat. The document wasn't just a peace treaty. It was a foundation for a new way of organizing galactic civilization, based on cooperation and mutual respect, rather than dominance and submission. The Kraxans never understood, she told Torres as they watched the ceremony. They thought spreading across the galaxy meant conquering it. They never realized that true expansion, true growth, comes from working together, from combining our strengths and overcoming our weaknesses. The quantum network, once a military tool, was being repurposed as the backbone of an interstellar communication system. Ships from different species were already sharing technology, creating new hybrid designs that were better than anything they could have built alone. Humanity went to the stars expecting to find enemies, Sarah mused. Instead, we found allies. We just had to fight a war to meet them. As the Prometheus began its journey back to Earth, Sarah knew that this wasn't really an ending. It was a beginning. The galaxy was entering a new age, one where cooperation and mutual understanding would replace conquest and subjugation. And humanity, the species that had helped forge this alliance, would help lead the way into that brighter future. The stars stretched out before them, no longer a battlefield, but a frontier of endless possibilities. And this time, they would explore it together.